I just spent the last half hour filming a damn TBR that I was struggling with, but I was like, we'll salvage it in the edit, to find out that half my head was cut off during filming, and now I would like to cry. So this is my end of the year last minute reads TBR take 2. I'm going to be discussing all the books I would like to finish by the end of the year. A large majority of them I have like plans and certain reasons for doing so. Whatever. We're going to cut this intro short or shortish and just move straight on to the books. These explanations may not be great because I already explained them once and I'm deeply annoyed. I have a couple of books that I have to read, or at least in my brain have to read by the end of the year to be successful in certain things. The first being like 20 books to read in 2020. I've read 16 of them. I have 4 left and I'm determined to finish it. The first book being I Wish You All the Best by Mason Deaver. I just dropped this and I'm very annoyed about it. But this follows a non-binary teen named Ben who comes out to their parents and it does not go well. They then have to move in with their estranged sister, move high schools, and deal with like the general trauma of not being accepted by their parents. Ben then meets Nathan, who kind of takes Ben under his wing, and I believe romance ensues. This is supposed to be really heartbreaking but heartwarming at the same time, and is an own voices novel told by a non-binary author. This should be my next audiobook once I'm finished with the one I'm currently listening to now. So I will definitely be reading this, and I will be reading it soon, whether it's October or November. We'll see, but I'm excited to finally read it, and this is really short, so I should zoom through it. I would like to thank Past Me for putting a graphic novel on this list. Like, thanks for looking out for me, girl, because Current Me really appreciates it, and that's The Complete Persepolis by, I always mean to look up this author's name, and I always forget, but Marjane Satrapi. I will look it up by the time I have read this, but this is one of the most highly raved about, critically acclaimed graphic novels. By the way, this is like a real account of our author's life, but it follows her growing up in Tehran during the Islamic Revolution, and I believe their family has to flee, and then she ends up growing up or living her teen years in Vienna. And it's like their real story told in a graphic novel format. Because of the list, I will also be reading Born by Jeff Vandermeer. I don't know a lot about this story. I've just been wanting to read something by Jeff Vandermeer for quite some time. This is a sci-fi story that might be a standalone or could be read as a standalone. And it follows this creature named Born who gets discovered by a human. And I believe Born's existence threatens like the lives of humanity. It sounds really interesting. I've seen good reviews from the people who have read it. The final book, and the book that I've been putting off the most of my 20 books in 2020, is The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This is like a modern classic. A lot of people love this book. It's critically acclaimed. This is so many people's favorite book of all time, and I'm scared. I just have heard like nothing but great things, and I believe this is literary / historical fiction, and I'm nervous. It follows our main character living in Barcelona, Spain in 1945, and I think he discovers this book called The Shadow of the Wind, and he loves this book and wants to look more into the author's work, and then finds out that someone has been systematically destroying the author's work and the book, The Shadow of the Wind. I think he gets attention drawn his way and dangerous things ensue, secrets are revealed, and it sounds good, but I am really intimidated by this story. But I will be reading it by the end of the year because I have to complete the list. I'm so close. I'm not going to fail with like one book that I'm nervous about. I have one more book that I have to read to accomplish some goals in 2020, and that is Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. You forgot who that's by? my brain clearly doesn't want to work with me today. This is my final Jane Austen. I made it a mission to read all of my unread Jane Austens this year, which were 4, and Sense and Sensibility is the one that remains. I don't know what it's about other than it follows some sensible characters, and I think Kate Winslet plays our main character in the movie. It's kind of a bittersweet end, but I'm glad I'm finally doing it and accomplishing my goal because I've been intending to do it for years. But I read my first Jane Austen, and let's be real, like my favorite Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice, I think at 15, and I've always intended to read more, and it took me until I was 23 to finally complete Jane Austen. It's 8 years in the making. We are now entering the adult SFF portion of this video because there's a lot I want to read, and there's a lot that I'm dying to get to by the end of this year, and we'll see what I can accomplish. The first book, obviously, I will be reading the second this gets into my hands, is The Burning God by R.F. Kuang. This is the third and final book in the Poppy War trilogy, a trilogy I have been discussing for years. I love this series. I'm sure you know what this series is about. I have discussions for books 1 and 2. If you want to want to jog your memory before the final book comes out, I will leave them linked down below. But it's high time I get the finale in my hands. I get to experience what happens. I'm nervous. I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great time, a heartbreaking time too. I'm also dying to get this stupid sucker into my hands because people have had no chill with spoilers ever since the arcs like popped up on NetGalley, I guess. Like 6 months ago, people have been fucking spoiling this book, and I've been doing my best to avoid spoilers, but I'm getting really annoyed. I hope in the last 4 weeks it takes for me to get this book in my hands, I do not get spoiled for it, because I will be really upset. I have a couple arcs I've been approved for, but one I will be prioritizing before the year is over is The Mask of Mirrors by M.A. Carrick. I literally just found out that this is a pen name for Marie Brennan and another author who I'm forgetting, and the other author is Alec Helms. I don't know too much about this. I was just kind of scrolling NetGalley one day and noticed that this is blurbed by S.A. Chakraborty, who's written my all-time favorite series, so I was like, she recommends it. I'll like it, hopefully. I know that this does follow a con artist who is like trying to infiltrate this really high up family or powerful clan, something along those lines, to secure her and her sister's future. However, she soon discovers that she's not the only person trying to pull off a con, and that like corrupt magic is literally infiltrating this city, this world, and she like ends up being right in the middle of it. It sounds really cool. It's the first in an adult fantasy trilogy. Yeah, I didn't expect to be approved for it. Just kind of like popped up one day and I was like, cool, let's do it. So it looks good though. Another book I absolutely know I will be reading in the next few months is Jade War. My brain hates me today. But Jade War is the sequel to Jade City, one of my favorite books of this year. I have a review for that also. And currently I'm rereading Jade City, taking part in a read along. I'll have the relevant links down below, but I'm doing a reread for it to then read this one. I'm excited. I believe this is like from like November to like half of December or whatever it is, but I'm very excited to read it, discuss it, find out what's going on in this. The finale is coming out in 2021. I believe it was slated for February, but it may have been pushed back now because of COVID, but I don't care. I desperately want to have this read by the time Jade Legacy comes out, so high priority. Can't wait to read this. Also, this should be the first video you're seeing with a slightly new setup. I've officially gone and made like a TBR shelf. I've been wanting one desperately for the past few months, but there's no way I'm going to fit my entire TBR on 3 shelves. So I figured I should put a lot of the adult fantasy I've been prioritizing on here. I still have some unread on this part of the shelf too, but just the stuff I want to prioritize, plus some young adult that I really want to read as well. And I'm happy with it. I might shuffle it around a bit, but I'm happy that that exists. Another book off that TBR, though, that I'm dying to read is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. This is also the first book in an adult fantasy trilogy, and ever since I saw the cover, I was like, I want it, I need it, I'm going to read it. And right before the book came out, I saw some reviewers that I really like absolutely raving about this book. So I'm so excited. Oh, we're just making a hole in my new shelf. Wonderful. This one I'm a bit nervous for, to be completely honest. I don't know if I'm going to like it. And that's The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I kind of had a complicated relationship with V.E. Schwab's works in the past. There's some I've really loved, but that was quite a few years ago. And her more recent entries into her books, writing, whatever series, I haven't entirely loved. And so now I'm nervous. Also, there's been a lot of mixed reviews. I'm not going to pitch this to you because I'm sure everyone and their mother knows what this book is about. But House Salt here on BookTube is a book club that I like, and this is their November pick. And I want to kind of keep up and see what they think, see what I think. This might be a make or break with me and V.E. Schwab. We'll see. Ah, crap. Damn it. I forgot another one that I need to read still because I'm an idiot, and that's The Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. There is no excuse. Zero. This much excuses for me not having read it recently. Like, I've been talking about it so much recently, and I still haven't picked it up. I'm hoping to have it squeezed into October, but we'll see. It really depends on when I finish The Way of Kings, because that book is long. I need to stop putting this book off. I actually technically DNF'd it. I read like 30 pages and it just wasn't working, but this time it has to work. I have to have this read by the end of 2020. Please, 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 please. Okay, final book. This one I'm really hoping I read, but frankly it's lowest on the totem pole. I really want to read it though, but I'm just not going to like give myself super pressure to read it, and that is Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. This is another co-authored book that I only recently found out that there's like 2 authors behind this series, but anyway, this is an adult science fiction space opera. It's the first in a 9-book series. I think the finale is actually coming out in 2021, so it seems like a good time to pick this up. And all I know is that it's a space opera and that a virus happens that like threatens the lives of humanity. So I don't know if that's too fitting for our current times, but I do definitely want to get this read. I really want to watch the TV show. I've been dying to watch that. It's just high time. High time I read this story, at least start it. I own the first 4 books and I haven't even started the series, which is pretty abysmal. So it's time to change it. I hope I can do it by the end of 2020, almost at 2021. So those are all my reading plans for the end of the year. I said I was going to give myself an easy go of it, but that is to be determined. I have a lot of chunky books on my TBR, plus the ARC that I mentioned. It literally doesn't say how long the page count it is, so I'm nervous. It's going to be like a 600-page book, and I don't know if I can handle that at this point in time. Let me know down in the comments below some of the books that you are prioritizing to read by the end of the year. But as always, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!